Today, I'm visiting with Grace Amiro, a visual journal studio student and facilitator in training. And I'm going to let her take the mic and just let us know, Grace, where you're from and what you're loving about your visual journal process right now.
I am from Yarmouth, Nova Scotia, Canada. So we're on the east side of the continent. I moved here in 2017. So both my parents were from this area, but they brought up myself and my three siblings in Ontario. And I ended up here because my mother needed some caregiving. So me and my husband and my sister and her husband transplanted ourselves here in Nova Scotia. And I just love it because I am right by the sea. And I've always wanted to be by the sea. And I never thought in my wildest dreams that I would end up living here. But we spent our summers here. So it was awesome. We had fun as kids. And now I'm having fun as a retiree.
Now embarking on your third act as an artist.
That's right. Third act. I love it.
Yeah, that's how I like to think of it. So what are you loving about your visual journaling process?
As a visual journalist, art journalist, now I find it is helping me move into a new stage in my life. I'm in my late 60s, so I am definitely moving into a different stage in my human life. And I find that the visual journaling just really helps me put down in images and some words what I'm feeling, how I'm feeling, and where I'm going. I may not have the answers in my head, but the soul helps me figure it out, and it shows up in my visual art journaling.
By using your visual journal and doing some writing or adding writing, and I want to get to how you add writing too, because it's a really different process than I've seen a lot. So I wanted to talk to you about one of the pages you're sharing with us so generously. You said the word soul very intentionally. So tell us more about that.
I love that phrase that you've often quoted, the soul speaks an image. I believe it's
Carl
by
Jung.
Carl Jung.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I really resonate with that phrase. And I feel that by visual art journaling, I can express how I feel. I have trouble sometimes really expressing how I feel, and being able to put an image down that helps me with my spirituality. I think it helps me with that and my own evolution as a person here now where I am at this time. So definitely that phrase and my visual art journaling go hand in hand.
You shared with us some images. There's one that looks like a woman dancing, and then one about collage, no right and wrong. Are these some of your paintings that you're doing?
There was a picture of a crone, and when I look at her, I think of her as a wise woman, an elder. When I look at her, she's in her later years, and she's attained the wisdom that she evolved, like her life evolved to this stage. And I sort of feel that's where I am. Like when I look in the mirror, I kind of see the beginnings of a wise woman. I want to say that for myself. I'm hoping that my visual art journaling, and I'm sure we're going to touch on it, is something that I'm hoping I can give back to my community. So now it's about giving back. I feel that, I've lived my life. I've had a great life. And I've accumulated a lot in terms of wisdom. So now how can I give that back to my community? So that wise woman, that collage, and then the phrase next to it says there's no right or wrong way. And So, there's no right or wrong way. So let's get out there and share.
So powerful. It's so interesting to hear you speak about this. So many things come to mind just about how older women in society often share this feeling of being invisible or being treated a certain way because of your age or being looked at a certain way. And so you have that crone image just as herself. And that's something else I saw on your pages about this idea of always be me. So putting down in your pages these types of images. And also there's the whole thing about aging and on the face. Every commercial seems to be about anti-aging. And so to be able to put the image and look in the mirror and see yourself as you are and embracing what's beyond the surface. Right. So not only do we get invisible in appearance, but people don't have any idea what we're walking around with, this massive library of life experience. We have some stuff, we have some skills, we have some chops, we have some things we can share.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And where I live right now, it's interesting because when I moved here, I became friends with one of her name was Helen Chandler. She was a reverend at the Anglican church here. And she was advanced beyond her time. And because she knew of the labyrinth, I started to work with her and we tried to bring the labyrinth in our community. It failed. The community was not ready for it. So you know what I still did? Even if there was only one person that came out or even none, I walked the labyrinth if there were none. But we set it up once a month. And then COVID hit, and of course, everything shut down. But this year, or the beginning of December of 2022, and now this year, all of a sudden, it just seems that the people in my community are yearning for this now. And a business acquaintance of mine, she opened up a new age and metaphysical store. And now we're starting to offer these courses and people are signing up. People can't get enough of it. They really want to learn. Yeah. So I'm offering visual art journaling, and this is a step out on the limb for me because I've done things before, but I haven't really led a class where I'm now going to teach people something. So this is a challenge for me, but I'm ready for it. That too, I'm ready for it too. People are ready for something, but I'm ready to give. So maybe that's the difference.
Yeah, I'm so happy to hear that too. And as we're filming this interview right now, we haven't even finished the facilitator training program yet. So and that's exactly like, even in the first module, I'm encouraging people, just start sharing your experience with people who want to know, and whatever you're willing to share about that. And I've shared this story in our community, but maybe not with the public, but how I started teaching was with one person. Wow. When people would come to my art studio, they'd look at the paintings and everything, but a lot of times people just honed in on my sketchbooks, which, that's what I visual journal in, a big blank sketchbook. And so people were saying, can you teach me how to do that? And before that, I had taught it I taught my process when I worked as a therapist, as an art therapist in the psych hospital. But to me, my visual journaling process was just that. It was like my therapy. It was so private. It was my actual journal. It just happened to be visual, which is why when I was starting to teach in public, came up with, I didn't know what to call it. So I just called it a visual journal, because it was like, I didn't even think of it like art really. But yeah, the visual journal, so private. And so I just started with one person coming over to my studio doing visual journaling with me. And we had so much fun. And then it just sort of blossomed from there. I never planned for that to be my livelihood. I mean, now it's like my entire business in a way, visual journal studio.
And I first started preparing journals for my trips, my vacations. And I would buy the little moleskin, and my sister and I, we would prepare the background pages with, paint and sprays and stamps and whatever collage materials we had, so that when we went away, we didn't have a blank page to look at. Just write or paste things in, staple things in. And that's kind of how it evolved for me. And then when I started taking your courses, and I find like the facilitator course right now, I may be thinking of something and then I click in on one of our modules and the answer's there. It's like, oh my God, that's exactly what I need to do. And the one exercise that you gave us where we were sort of critiquing courses that we've been on, well, I've taken that and I've critiqued pretending I'm a student in one of my classes. So, okay, what did myself do that I like? What did myself do that I didn't like? So sort of rehearsing ahead of time the facilitation process, so that next week when I go and teach, I'll be able to say, okay, in my mind, I'm not doing that, or I am doing that.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It totally does. And if you're asking for feedback from students, maybe after the class or something, a kind of less subjective way of putting, not saying like or don't like, but, what especially worked for you today? Or was there anything that just didn't work for you? And then they could say more about it. And then it's not like they're saying, you're a good teacher, you're a bad teacher, but just when you did this, I didn't quite get it. Or could you slow down when you're giving us the instructions or something,
Yeah.
And then it's super helpful.
Great.
And then it's like, yeah, this works for me, or that doesn't work for me. Let's come back to some of your visual journaling process and pages.
Sure.
I noticed that you have a lot of different writing. It looks like writing from different sources, like maybe letters or notes or from your notebooks, but they're all kind of collaged in on your pages. Tell us more about what that is and how you do it.
I always start, I think, with my collage process because I enjoy adding collage. And I think that this time around in our class, what we're doing right now, I finally feel that I've got my style, or my style is starting to come to me. So the first thing I do is I always have a painted page. I love that I open my book and my page is started when we have our painted pages. And then from there, depending on what it is I'm feeling that day, or if I've learned something during the day or the week, whenever I do sit down, I'll start doing an image hunt like you've taught us. What images do I want to put on the page? And then I just let it unfold, just unfold. It's almost like going into the unknown. Then I'll write. I don't think I write all fancy and pretty. I try to make it more just what my soul wants. It's almost like channeling. What do I need to know today? And then I write. And whatever comes out, I just leave it there.
So are you writing right directly in your sketchbook pages, or are you writing on different? Okay.
Yeah. I like to glue things in my book rather than tape things in, because I like the way the page wrinkles, so that when I do write, there is sort of a texture there. And for me, I find it adds to the beauty of the personality of the book. And then I may add more paint to that page. Maybe I'll add some stamping with letters, or I like stickers too. Whatever in the moment that sort of comes to me to embellish the page. So I guess I'm sort of in the moment when I'm doing that sort of writing, because I'm not an eloquent writer. I kind of just do the basics. And that's why I find that when I collage, there's a little bit more I can pull out from it. It helps me pull a little bit more of how I'm feeling and how do I want to say that on the page.
I was just going to reference back to what you said before about exploring your feelings and that having some challenge to it. And then also same with writings. A lot of times, especially when I first started out and I was doing a ton of writing in my visual journals, almost to know what I wanted or know what I was feeling, because I didn't know until I just started journaling about it. I just know I felt clenched up or something. And what is this?
I think that a lot of my visual art journaling is impromptu. Like I come to it not knowing. It's like going into the unknown. It's like going into the cloud of unknowing. There was a book written by that, a monk, if I recall, and I loved it because you're going into that cloud of unknowing, but you do come out with something. And maybe you don't really get what you've put down on in collage and image and words, but maybe that at the end of the day or the next day or a few days or a month, all of a sudden, bingo, that image might come back to you and you think, oh, there's the lesson. There's something that I can pull from that page and now go back and write a little bit more about it. I know that my mother is suffering from dementia, and my sister and I have been on this whole journey with her, and my visual art journaling has helped me process the end of her life journey through dementia. Both my sister and I, we've gone through some hard times with hard realization that our mother has dementia. And 5 years ago, when we came here, or almost 5.5 years ago, we never thought that was going to be Mom's end of life journey. We thought we were going to be exploring and, going to all these little places. Her life journey is what it is. And going back to the visual art journaling, that's helped me work emotionally through what she's going through.
Yeah. What you're describing, this will help people who haven't done visual journaling before, but maybe have taken classes where the teacher shows you an example of maybe an art exercise or something. And it'll tell you the technique of how to create that image or what supplies and everything. And that's definitely an important way to teach. And what you're really pinpointing is how the process I teach is so different, because it's coming from the inside. You are facing the blank page, and that is a void. And I love it. It's a void, but it's something we avoid because it can be terrifying to face the blank page. And I think I've always said the blank page is a metaphor for life. And we have to constantly be facing this blank page of our life, whatever is in front of us that we weren't expecting, talk about the unexpected. So when we have the skills like you're having to say, I know how to first destroy this blank page so it's not going to scare me anymore. I'm going to throw paint on it. I'm going to collage something. And that's what I find great comfort in keeping a visual journal in this style is I don't have to know what I'm doing. And like for one place in my life, I don't have to be competent. I don't have to know what I'm doing. I can be my 5-year-old self and just play with all my art supplies all at once and make a big giant mess. And at the end of it, I've got something to show for it that tells me something that I wanted to understand or learn.
And, sometimes I can open my book, and if I've had a challenge or something perplexing throughout the day, I might just scribble right away, just scribble away rather than write out something right away. Just scribble it out. It's almost like a scream on a page, the scribble. It's almost like just screaming out on the page. And then once that sort of has been released, then you can do your image hunts and say, okay, this is where I am right now. And I'm going to put this down. And then I've written and then pasted collage over it. It's therapy for me too, for sure. I'm not a therapist, so I'll teach what I've been taught with our art journaling. And then those that are in the class will be able to heal themselves or know that perhaps they need to get more professional help, but at least they've got their journal. And that's a start.
Absolutely. Yeah. And anyone can learn to visual journal and end up teaching visual journaling. And even though I am a trained therapist, I never advertise or tell anyone that what we're doing is therapy, because that would be illegal, unethical, and all kinds of things. That's not what they're signing up for. So I'm very careful to I'm not making that background a secret. And of course, it influences how I work. I'm an artist who became a therapist because art making as a kid always made me feel so much better. And then when I found out there was this profession of art and music therapy and dance therapy and drama therapy, it was like, that makes total sense to me. And I could have this wonderful vocation. Little did I know that I wasn't really cut out for working in psych hospitals, but that was something I had to learn later. But it influences how I am in the world and how I teach, just because to me, the healing aspect of art is the priority for me as an artist. I make things to feel better and because I have to express. I'm motivated more by my interior process. And that's what I love about teaching too, is just that getting to talk to you and the other students about their creative process and looking at your visual journal pages is just endlessly fascinating to me, how people can have the same creative prompt and have completely unique individual outcomes of their pages. And that's our own psyche at work. All your inner wisdom flowing out, all your creativity is right there.
Yeah. There was one of your questions on why we art journal or visual art journal. And for me, I think it's because it's real and it's raw. When we go to our journals, I feel that I've learned to put down what's raw in me, like that, scream on the paper or an ice cream because it was a great day, put a picture of an ice cream cone, So it's real and raw emotion, I think, the visual art journaling. And that's why I'm so drawn to it.
Well, and coming back to this phrase you used on one of your pages, always be me. Could you say more about that?
With the always be me, I am only coming into that now. I am finally comfortable in my own skin. I think most of my life I've been a people pleaser. I wouldn't say it's a bad thing. It's something I've learned from. But now I've evolved into my own skin, and it's like, you know what? It's now time to just be me. Try to be compassionate, happy, joyful at this stage in my life. Learn from my mistakes, because I still make mistakes, of course, or challenges, and go out on the limb. I've always, as a young person, not so much my later years or when I was bringing my kids up, I was afraid of my shadow. So I kind of withdrew. But life presents its opportunities, and I think it's either sink or swim. And for the most part, I swam. I swam, but there was a lot of fear. And now I've learned so much from the visual journal work studio. I've learned so much from you and from the community. So it's it's helping me to be me and be comfortable in my skin.
What you're sharing is so personal, but it's also universal at the same time. It is a very common struggle. I kind of feel like it's the human experience, learning to be ourselves. You know, we've got so many songs about that, poems about it, art about it. And you're adding to that continuum, you're adding to this body of work. You're having that experience for yourself. And I'm just wondering, for others out there who feel so resonant with this issue of how could I just be myself? If they were just really interested or curious about visual journaling, and maybe they've done a different type of art journaling or something, they want to try something new, but how could they practice being themselves on their pages?
Something that I just started to do is mind mapping. So always be me would be right in the center and circle it. And then your spokes would go out from there. And then you can take, for instance, always be me. Well, one of them is eating healthy, one of my spokes. So how do I go about eating healthy? And even in my journal, I have put images in my journal on healthy eating. So I go back to it very often. It's got words and pictures of healthy eating and being comfortable.
You're saying you're linking it to your identity, to one of your core values. So
Yes,
I value,
yes.
this is me. I am a healthy eater. And what does this look like to me? And when you change something into an identity statement, then it just becomes so much easier. And your motivation is coming from inside, intrinsic motivation, rather than, oh, I want to look skinny and that's why I'm going to go on this diet. But you've got your health connected in there, which is also value.
One of my words of the year last year was huga, and it's a Norwegian word or Danish word meaning bringing comforts. What are your comforts? You know, a nice hot cup of tea at the end of the day, a bubble bath, pillows on your bed or a chair. And then even outside, you know, walking in nature. And I like being by the ocean, so I go to the ocean. So that's one of my spokes. So just to be me, what does the word huga do for me to be me? And I've noticed that one of them is just being in nature. And my desk does face the ocean. So I have that image daily.
And so you're putting these images in your visual journal into collages, to remind you. So these are,
that's right.
In a way, your visual journal can be like a vision board on steroids, if you will, like just page after page of what you want more of.
Right.
What you want more of, and who you want to be, or what aesthetics, you know, what is it that's helping you feel like yourself? What I love about the mind map is you're not journaling. You're not having to write anything. It's almost like making lists, but with circles. So you're automatically doodling.
Yes.
And drawing.
That's true.
And it's psychologists would call that free association. What does it mean to be me? And then you just grab whatever comes to mind. You don't have to know what you're doing. Final question is, because you have such a rich variety of images in your collages, do you have any tips for sourcing images for people who might want to try this? Where do you get your wonderful images?
Unfortunately, we only have Walmart in our community. But I can get some good magazines there. So there's the Magnolia magazine, there's Where Women Create magazine. I can get those little magazines at Walmart. We also have a used bookstore that has magazines for $2. I can probably pick up about 10 or 15 magazines. You can buy books for under $5, and just then you can start ripping out your material to embellish your page.